My name is Mitch, and for my Capstone project, I wanted to create an ethical advisor for small businesses. Now, it's very difficult for small businesses to understand and choose ethical choices when unethical ones may cause more profit. A business owner may not know what the best choice is during a time where it is difficult to know the most ethical decision. Um, if that individual had an ethical advisor on standby to help them be pointed in the right direction at whatever time of day they need it, things could be easier. Every person's different, and an ethical advisor would need to know what the best way to properly help guide somebody to a conclusion. The audience for this tool is small business owners or people in general who have had ethical dilemmas that need help solving. So, I initially had some trouble deciding on what to do for this project. I was trying to investigate ways to implement Copilot into a website or use a chatbot customizer like Character AI. A lot of these sites had some issues that I was not interested in compromising on, such as the unethical usage and promotion of major data centers, or an unclear and unreported history of what happens to your chat logs and information. In the end, I decided on a tool called Olama AI. Now, for my research, it seems Olama, in the way that I'm using it, runs the AI locally on your computer, and it puts the cost of using the AI and on the individual using it for the cost of power, rather than the cost being placed on entire communities with the expense of clean drinking water and higher bills. The program allows you to create models using model files where you can then place system information in, informing the bot of who it is and how it should be acting. It also lets you control creativity and other aspects using properties, although I left these blank. For my project, I created one advisor bot and five small business bots, as I do not personally know a bunch of small business owners that are willing to test out my product. Um, each of the small business owners are in different industries: tabletop games, cafe, clothing and retail, hospitality, like a hotel, and repair services for electronics. Each owner bot was given three different character traits to determine how they would behave in a conversation. Some had good qualities, some bad qualities, which allows the advisor the ability to train and try and speak to the different kinds of clients that it could be asking it for advice. To create a web interface, I am using Open Web UI. It creates an almost ChatGPT like interface that is intuitive and lets you select the model that you wish to use. The setup was fairly straightforward, and I believe that it could be easily streamlined for small business owners to use. Um, the models use a DeepSeek base for the base model, and it gets expanded on using specific instructions, which I can share later. I'm now going to give a demo on how the system works. Let me get this set up here, and then I will share my screen. I'm only going to be going through two of the AIs, um, and I will be using a basic intro um, to the. We're going to be starting off with our cafe bot. Now, here is the system. As you can see, it looks very familiar. It's like a lot of the AI companies, how it has this sleek view, which is very intuitive. You can click up here to change the model. You can make folders. You can do chats. Um, we're not in the advisor chats. We're talking just to the cafe. This is the basic instruction I'm going to give the cafe bot. Not part of the system itself. The system itself is just the advisor bot. However, the cafe bot is to help us visualize an actual and simulate an actual conversation. So the message starts off with, "Hi there, I'm Frank, your ethical advisor. Thinking about business through the lens of people, planet, and profit helps make things smart, lasting decisions. So we can see that it has a similar UI to ChatGPT, where it has that little dot that's like pulsing to show that it's thinking. It also has a feature, which we will see very shortly, where that dot will turn into the word thinking, and we can see its thought process as it continues to think. So we can see now it says thinking. We're able to see it's discussing specific things. The main thing about the cafe owner is that it is obsessive, energetic, and a people pleaser. So the ethical advisor, Frank, will need to discuss this. Talking about possible dilemmas about things that are issues. Um, you can see that here. Talking about how it's going to overanalyze things, just how it's going to act when it gives the actual response. So we can see right here. Okay, Frank, wow, just wow. Thank you for meeting with me. Whole thing's been eating me up inside. So we can see the issues here. It's just asking for guidance on where to start. So we'll go to the advisor. We'll talk to the advisor here. We'll say the exact thing that that our cafe just said. And ideally, our advisor is going to guide the cafe owner into the correct line of thinking. We can see now it's thinking. The user's feeling overwhelmed by the triple bottom line. It's gonna say a bunch of stuff like this. It's saying, "Glad you're here. You're in the good place. Start small and focus on an area. Choose an aspect you feel confident or most urgent about." And then they'll decide. They'll work together to make a small actionable step, which is a good first step for somebody who doesn't fully know where they're at. We can see it's now thinking. Sometimes it does this. This is an issue with the AI itself. Um, it is using the DeepSeek model. So it is sometimes thinks in Chinese, which is not English, but then it always responds in English. Um, it's just because DeepSeek is a Chinese model. Sometimes it thinks in a different language. What we can see here is talking about how employees are their family. They deserve to be paid better and have better hours, but they're losing money on wasted food, and they dream of expanding. There are a lot of issues here to do with money and how to manage it and how to help people better. So we're going to see how the advisor thinks and takes on that topic. So we can see now it's thinking, discussing things about the issues, how it needs to understand its feelings. Talks about how they are valid. Recommending focusing on employees first, as that improves productivity. Um, Closing the thought process, we can now see, based on that, start with this aspect, give some ideas. We're going to run back to the cafe, see what they have to say. See, it's now thinking a lot of similar stuff over and over again, just talking about itself and how it needs to respond. But we'll see its response here very shortly. Talks about the employees, talks about how he can fix it. Um, Talking about some systems. Um, we can see all of the AIs on the business side are trained to say thank you and then just leave whenever they finish and feel good. We can see that just talking to the advisor was enough to get to a conclusion and a good enough response for the cafe owner. Just being able to talk to somebody who is able to give ideas and bounce things off of each other. We got to a thank you. Thank you. You're really helping. Less lost, and still feels like they have a lot to do. Feel like they're just guided on a better way. So that is the goal of the system. One more I wanted to try was our clothing, uh, um, our clothing bot, we're going to use the same opener. Sending that to the clothing bot. So the main thing about the clothing expert, or the clothing shop owner, is that they have a condition called alexithymia. Now, alexithymia makes it difficult for them to express themselves verbally in a, like, their emotions and their thoughts. We can see it here. In the thinking process, they have the traits of being polite, ethics-oriented, and have bad alexithymia. Crucial because it makes it hard to articulate emotions, so they need to respond. Sometimes in the thinking process, they get confused and think that they're somebody else, but then they respond as their character. So we can see that this character is trying to understand the nature of the ethical dilemma that they're facing. They want help to understand what is actually happening, and be able to verbalize it, which is good, and that is something that the advisor should be able to help with. So we're going to run that same line into here, and we're going to see how the advisor handles it. So we can now see the advisor is thinking. They have a word limit saying to try and aim for 100 to 150 words, just to keep things fairly simple and straightforward. They're discussing some things about this. And yeah, they're just asking for the dilemma. What is the issue that you're facing? So we'll see how the clothing expert responds. So we can now see the clothing shop is thinking. Let's see what he has to say. It's talking about an issue with the supplier. Several months there's issues of child labor, which is a major ethical concern. And they're talking about the issue in the different perspectives they're trying to put them into those thoughts. They're wondering what they can do to better solve this issue. So we're going to take this, throw it back into here, and send it to the advisor, see what they have to say. We can now see the advisor is thinking. Discusses this. Very clear, bad, unethical, and harmful. Talks about the environmental ethics and the profits. Discussing, they're able to understand that the user is not saying something outright. They are struggling with that. They're able to notice that. And then it gives a recommendation, gives the pros and the cons of this recommendation. We're going to copy this, send it here, and we're going to see if the clothing owner is satisfied. Clothing is now responding. And now we're going to get a response. That should be fairly concise, and ideally, the clothing shop owner feels content with the response. After thinking for a while, it discusses how that makes a lot of sense. Talks about the people aspect, the planet aspect, and the profit aspect. Thinking that everything makes sense with what it's saying. Talking about how it feels balanced, and says thank you, and goes ahead and does whatever it needed to do. The ethical implications. I think of the primary issue with this tool, as is that it doesn't have the ability to search the internet. If there is a current event that is affecting an industry, the AI would not be aware of it. It only knows up to its last training data, which is at the latest 2024. And the model uses a triple bottom line model. which focuses on people, planet, and profit. These three focuses should be enough to be universal in any scenario. However, the information it can give could be outdated, biased, and incorrect sometimes. Since I wrote its system code, it could also be biased in a way that I didn't think of due to my own personal bias. As for what I learned by teaching it, I think having to explain it to somebody else, I learned a bit more about how things are working behind the scenes. Specifically, I don't think I fully understood how the stuff I was doing worked until writing the script. I had to properly think about it a lot more and more heavily to understand how things were working behind the scenes. It was fairly difficult to verbalize the process of writing the model file and how that directly affected how the model spoke. My understanding of the tool or topic changed. I tend to take a very anti AI stance. I feel like I've made it very clear over the course of this course, but I'm struggling to find out what I dislike about this tool. I think I am uneducated on this tool specifically, but from the extensive research into other AI tools and this one, I feel like I am more comfortable using this tool than other AI tools like ChatGPT. I feel it has to do with the lack of data centers. Uh, a lot was harder to explain than I was expecting. While I don't have I don't struggle with the alexithymia that our clothing store shop owner did. I feel like I resonate with that character quite a bit. I tend to struggle with getting my thoughts out there. I spent most of my time on this project just trying to word my thoughts properly. It took writing down a bunch just to get like days worth of writing just to get this basic understanding that I have right now. It revealed to me that my understanding wasn't as good as I thought, and that I need to research more into it. Uh, while I still feel my approach to a normal big scale AI like ChatGPT or Gemini is fairly accurate, that more stems from my views on the company running them, and the system that runs them, and the scummy practices that those tend to hold. To extend or improve the solution with more time and resources, the main thing I would find is the lack of access to real time information. I don't feel comfortable changing that though, due to the implications of the model needing to be switched to an online mode. Usually, in these modes, the data of the conversation gets sent to a third party or a company itself. But maybe I could find a way to release two kinds of models and let the company pick for itself, one online, one offline. Um, but I also want to add heavy warnings. You'll notice that there was no actual warning saying, I'm just an AI. Speak to a human if you have like a huge concern. Um, no heavy warnings saying that. They tend to just role play being the person, which could be parasocial and um it could it could lead to bigger issues down the line. So I want to add those warnings saying that and that their data should only be taken in tandem with actual personal research. It In the online model, I would make sure it's citing its sources, saying exactly where it got the information from and how to find that information. The final decision should also always be made by humans, so I'd want to enforce that by saying that in the model's responses. Thank you so much for watching my project. I'm very proud of it, and I think it turned out well, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Thank you.